Have you ever wondered why, before the breakthrough, you find yourself standing alone in silence, feeling distant from everyone around you? It may feel like abandonment, but it's actually preparation. God's pattern is often to separate you before elevating you. He pulls you into isolation, not as punishment, but as a sacred process of refining. This journey is not easy, but it's necessary. Let's explore why isolation is often the path to true blessing and how it shapes you into the person God knows you are meant to be. Isolation has a unique way of revealing who you truly are. When you're removed from the busyness, away from the familiar voices and daily routines, what's left is just you, bare, real, and honest. It's here in this quiet place that God begins the intricate work of refining your character. He allows you to see yourself clearly, with all the strengths and weaknesses exposed. This process isn't meant to discourage you, but to help you grow. Every flaw, every bit of pride, every ounce of impatience is drawn out to be reshaped, purified, and transformed. In these moments of solitude, you confront your habits, your impulses, and the motivations behind your actions. You're made to face areas that may need correction, thought patterns, or attitudes that have silently held you back. Here you discover the parts of yourself that have remained untouched, hidden even from your own awareness. In isolation, these aspects of your character can no longer remain concealed. You are invited into a space where genuine change begins, a space where there is no escape from the truth of who you are and who you can become. In this season, God refines your patience. When there's no one to reassure you, you learn to wait on Him, to trust in His timing, even when you don't understand it. You develop humility, recognizing that without the support of others, without the accolades or affirmations, you are still valuable in His sight. You start to understand that your worth is not tied to human approval, but to a higher purpose. This humility brings a softness and a strength, a quiet confidence that comes from knowing you are being shaped for something greater. And as the refining continues, you gain a new level of self-control. Where you once might have been quick to react, you now learn the discipline of holding back, of responding with wisdom rather than impulse. You become more patient, more compassionate, able to extend grace not just to others but to yourself. The refinement process molds you into someone who can stand firm in integrity, who no longer depends on the comfort of others, but has an inner foundation built on truth. This refining of character is not easy. It's painful to confront the parts of yourself that resist change, the pride that wants to stay hidden, the doubts that linger. But with every step in this journey, you become stronger, more refined, ready to receive the blessing with a heart that's been tested and a character that's been purified. It's in isolation that God shapes you, preparing you to carry the weight of His purpose with grace, humility, and strength. When the blessing finally arrives, you'll be able to handle it, not as you once were, but as the person He has prepared you to be. In times of isolation, when familiar support systems are removed and the comforting voices fall silent, faith becomes the solid ground beneath your feet. This is where God teaches you to trust Him more deeply than ever before. With no one else to lean on, you're invited into a space of profound reliance on His strength alone. Your faith, once anchored in things you can see and control, is now stretched and strengthened as you learn to depend on the unseen, unchanging presence of God. In this solitude, you begin to experience God in a way you may never have noticed when life was full and busy. Your heart starts to open to His whispers, the quiet nudges that reveal His guidance and assure you of His care. It's here in the place of loneliness that you realize His presence is not just near, it's all-encompassing. Every breath, every thought, every emotion is fully known by Him, and you start to rest in that knowledge, letting it replace fear and anxiety with trust and peace. As this dependence grows, you become increasingly aware that God is not just a distant deity, but your Father, a friend, a confidant, and a guide. You learn that He has been walking with you every step of the way, even when you didn't feel it. The isolation serves as a reminder that people may come and go, circumstances may shift, but God remains faithful. His love for you is unchanging, His promises are steadfast, and His plans are good even when they are not fully revealed. The journey of depending on God during these seasons builds a deep-rooted faith that does not waver when life's storms rage. In this quiet space, God cultivates resilience in you. You learn that no matter how uncertain or dark things may appear, you have an unshakable anchor in Him. You realize that your dependence on Him is the very source of your strength. That it's only in yielding to His power that you find the courage to face the unknown. This growth in faith also sharpens your spiritual vision. When there's nothing to distract or comfort you, you learn to discern His voice more clearly, understanding that He is guiding you even when the way ahead seems unclear. You're reminded that faith is not about seeing the whole picture, but trusting that the one who holds your future is faithful. This trust becomes a steady foundation for every season of life, a foundation that's unmovable because it is built on Him. As you grow in faith and dependence, you find a new level of freedom. You realize that you are no longer held captive by the need for human validation or earthly security because you have a confidence that comes only from Him. In this place, your heart becomes anchored in His love, your spirit infused with His peace. And when the time comes to step back into the world, you will do so with a quiet, unwavering assurance, knowing that your faith and dependence on God have prepared you for whatever lies ahead. Isolation is the workshop where God prepares you for the purpose He designed uniquely for you. In this quiet space, cut off from the noise of daily life, you're able to hear His voice more clearly, and in that clarity, you begin to understand the calling He has placed on your life. Every moment of solitude, every season of silence is not wasted. It's a necessary time where God molds and shapes you, aligning your heart with His and preparing you for what lies ahead. This preparation isn't a quick fix. It's a deliberate, intentional process where God draws out the gifts and strengths within you, polishing and refining them so that they're ready to be used fully. In isolation, you start to recognize the dreams, passions, and desires that have been placed deep in your heart. These aren't mere wishes or random ideas. They are seeds of purpose that God has planted within you, waiting to grow. But for those seeds to take root and flourish, they must be nurtured in the quiet, away from the distractions that could stunt their growth. In this season, God teaches you patience and persistence. When there's no immediate platform or audience, you're compelled to focus on the substance rather than the spotlight. This is where you begin to learn that purpose is not about recognition or success, but about service and fulfillment. God builds a foundation within you that is strong enough to carry the weight of the purpose He has designed. He instills values and principles that keep you grounded so that when the time comes, you're not swayed by circumstances or opinions. Instead, you stand firm knowing that your purpose is tied to something eternal, something greater than yourself. Isolation also allows you to confront your limitations and weaknesses, which is vital for growth. God doesn't just prepare you by enhancing your strengths, He prepares you by helping you face and overcome the areas where you may feel inadequate. In this process, He equips you with the wisdom, resilience, and humility that will sustain you. You begin to understand that purpose requires not only the abilities you already have, but also a willingness to grow beyond them, to rely on Him for what you lack. In this quiet preparation, God aligns your heart with His vision. He imparts His desires, His plans, and His compassion into you, making sure that the purpose you're stepping into is not merely a personal ambition, but a divine assignment. You learn that purpose is not a position or a title, but a responsibility. It is about being a vessel for His work, impacting lives, and leaving a legacy that echoes His love and truth. This alignment refines your motives, ensuring that when you step into your purpose, it is not for personal gain, but for the fulfillment of a mission greater than yourself. The preparation in isolation builds within you a sense of urgency and commitment to your calling. You realize that every lesson, every challenge, every quiet moment spent in solitude has been orchestrated to prepare you for a specific work. And as God prepares you, He instills in you a hunger to serve, to make a difference, and to walk boldly in the purpose He has set before you. So when the time of isolation ends, you step forward not only with clarity, but with a heart fully equipped and ready to fulfill the assignment He has crafted uniquely for you. When God draws you into a season of isolation, it's often to shield you from influences that could hinder or derail the purpose He has set before you. In this sacred space, distractions are stripped away not to deprive you, but to protect you. The removal of certain relationships, routines, or environments isn't punishment, it's preparation. God knows that some connections, though they seem harmless, can dilute your focus and divert your energy. By isolating you, he removes unnecessary influences so that your attention is solely on him and the work he's doing within you. This season of separation forces you to evaluate who and what is truly aligned with your purpose. Without the usual noise, you start to see clearly. People or pursuits that once seemed essential may reveal themselves to be distractions, pulling you in directions that serve no part in God's greater plan for you. In the absence of these distractions, you gain a sharper understanding of your calling, and your commitment to that calling deepens. You realize that purpose demands focus, and focus requires freedom from anything that might compromise your journey. In isolation, God is also protecting you from the subtle influences that can sow seeds of doubt and discouragement. There are voices around us, often well-meaning, that question our decisions, plant insecurities, and challenge the vision we hold. When God separates you, he creates a boundary that safeguards your faith and confidence. He protects you from negative voices that might discourage you or cause you to doubt the very path he's called you to walk. This boundary allows you to grow in quiet confidence, untainted by the opinions of others. This protective isolation also teaches you discernment. As you spend time alone with God, you begin to recognize what truly aligns with his will and what doesn't. You develop an inner clarity that makes it easier to identify distractions when they do reappear. You learn to distinguish between what is beneficial and what is merely a detour, strengthening your ability to stay focused even when the world around you tries to pull you off course. This discernment becomes an essential skill, not only for this season, but for every step you take thereafter, allowing you to stay true to your calling. God's isolation is also protection from premature exposure. Sometimes the world offers opportunities or connections that appear promising but are not in God's timing. Isolation ensures that you're not tempted to take shortcuts, to rush into situations that could be harmful or overwhelming. By keeping you close, God shields you from exposure to things that might seem good but aren't right for you, at least not yet. In his wisdom, he knows that stepping out prematurely can lead to challenges that may derail the very purpose he is preparing you for. So in this quiet season, he ensures you grow in strength, wisdom, and resilience, ready to handle what's ahead when the time is truly right. Isolation, then, is God's way of nurturing your purpose in a protective environment. By cutting off unnecessary distractions, he ensures that your spirit remains undivided, fully attentive to his guidance. And when the season of isolation finally ends, you step back into the world with a newfound clarity and strength, knowing that you've been prepared and protected for the journey ahead. This protection has set you up to pursue your calling with a focus and confidence that is unshakable, fully anchored in the wisdom of God's perfect timing and plan. Isolation is where God builds resilience within you, an inner strength that can't be shaken by life's storms. In the quiet, with no one else around to lean on, you learn to rely on a strength that doesn't come from external validation or support. It's here alone that you begin to confront the depths of your own spirit, discovering that you are far stronger and more capable than you once believed. God uses isolation to strengthen the core of who you are, training you to withstand pressures and challenges with a resolve that's unmovable. In this season, God allows you to face tests and trials that reveal what's really inside of you. Each challenge becomes an opportunity to grow, stretching your capacity to endure. There's no immediate rescue, no easy solution. Instead, you're given the chance to stand, to endure, and to overcome. This process is not about breaking you down, but about building you up, refining your character in ways that only perseverance can accomplish. You start to realize that resilience is not about avoiding hardship, but about growing stronger through it. God also teaches you in isolation that true resilience is rooted in faith. When you have no one else to turn to, you learn to anchor yourself in his promises. The isolation builds a faith that isn't dependent on circumstances. You learn to hold on to hope even when the outcome is unclear, trusting that God's plans are for your good. This deep-rooted faith becomes a wellspring of strength, allowing you to press on with courage, even in the face of uncertainty. You come to understand that resilience isn't just about physical endurance, it's about a spirit that remains unyielding, grounded in an unshakable belief that God is with you and for you. Isolation also teaches you self-discipline. Without the usual comforts, you're trained to control your emotions, manage your reactions, and focus your mind on what truly matters. This inner discipline is part of resilience. It's the ability to maintain peace in chaos, to choose patience over frustration, and to stay calm under pressure. In this solitude, God shapes your reactions, showing you how to respond rather than react, how to approach every situation with a calm and steady spirit. Over time, this discipline becomes second nature, empowering you to navigate life's challenges with wisdom and grace. Through this process, you start to recognize your own inner strength, a strength that's been hidden beneath layers of doubt and fear. In isolation, there is no one to impress, no one to compete with, only the quiet voice within that reminds you of who you truly are. You come to see that resilience is not about putting on a brave face, it's about a deep confidence, a quiet assurance that you are equipped to handle whatever comes your way because God has been building you for this moment. Each trial, each test in isolation has prepared you for a purpose that requires unwavering strength. And as the season of isolation begins to close, you emerge with a resilience that can face any obstacle. You're no longer dependent on the affirmation of others or the security of familiar comforts. Instead, you carry a strength that is rooted in a journey of faith and endurance, a strength that has been tried, tested, and proven in the quiet places. This resilience becomes the foundation upon which you'll build every step of your purpose, allowing you to stand firm in any season, fully prepared for whatever lies ahead. In isolation, clarity begins to emerge like a fog lifting from the road ahead. When God brings you into solitude, He does so to clear away the distractions, the noise, and the unnecessary pulls on your heart and mind. It's in this quiet that you gain the ability to see more clearly, to discern what truly matters. Isolation strips away the opinions, the expectations, and even the self-imposed limitations, allowing you to see not only who you are, but where you are meant to go. In this space, God aligns your vision with His, sharpening your focus and giving direction to your path. The clarity that comes in isolation is not simply about setting goals or making plans, it's about understanding the deeper why behind them. You begin to recognize the purpose woven into your vision. Instead of just moving forward aimlessly, you come to see the journey as part of a larger plan. In this space, God gives you insight into the things that He has placed within you, the unique gifts, passions, and experiences that shape your calling. He reveals to you the areas where your strengths can shine and where your compassion can make a difference. Your vision becomes rooted not in personal ambition, but in a divine purpose that goes beyond what you alone could imagine. In this solitude, God also reveals the steps needed to bring that vision to life. Often we want the full picture right away, but clarity in vision isn't always about seeing the entire path. Sometimes it's about seeing the next step with certainty. Isolation trains you to walk by faith, to trust in the smaller glimpses of direction given to you. With each step, God unveils more, showing you that clarity is a journey, not a destination. You learn to move forward with confidence, even when only a portion of the path is illuminated, knowing that the one who guides you is faithful to complete what He has started in you. Isolation also refines your priorities. In the busyness of life, it's easy to take on pursuits that seem important but are actually distractions from your true purpose. In the quiet, you start to see what's essential and what can be set aside. This realignment helps you to pour your energy into what truly matters, rather than scattering your focus on things that don't align with your calling. This sharpening of priorities allows you to let go of good things in pursuit of the best things, those things that resonate deeply with the vision God has given you. With this clarity of vision and direction, there also comes a deep sense of peace. When you know where you are going and why, the fears, doubts, and anxieties lose their power. You no longer feel the need to chase after every opportunity or please every voice around you. Instead, you find rest in the knowledge that your path has been set before you. You realize that the time spent in isolation was not a detour, but a necessary journey to refine your focus, align your vision, and anchor your heart in the purpose God has given you. And so as you emerge from this season, you do so with a vision that is clear, unwavering, and purposeful. You are no longer led by fleeting desires or influenced by external pressures, but by a direction deeply rooted in clarity and conviction. This vision becomes a guiding light, directing every decision and every step with a renewed sense of purpose and assurance, grounded in the wisdom and clarity gained in the quiet presence of God. Isolation is where God performs a sacred transformation, peeling away the layers of the old self to reveal who you are truly meant to be. In the quiet, removed from the affirmations, expectations, and even judgments of others, you're faced with your own reflection, raw, unfiltered, and honest. This season of separation becomes a mirror, showing you the parts of yourself that are no longer in alignment with where God is leading you. It is here that He begins the deep work of helping you let go of old mindsets, habits, and attitudes that have held you back, that no longer serve the person He is calling you to become. This transformation isn't easy. The old self often clings tightly, preferring the familiar ways over the uncertainty of change. But in isolation, God strips away every mask, every layer of pride, fear, and doubt. He allows you to confront the ways in which you've leaned on things outside of Him for worth or identity. These old dependencies and beliefs are gradually exposed, not to shame you, but to set you free. In this process, you begin to understand that true freedom isn't found in carrying the weight of who you were, but in embracing who you are called to be. As you let go of the old self, God instills within you a new identity rooted in Him. He redefines what strength, purpose, and value mean. No longer do you define yourself by your past mistakes, your achievements, or others' perceptions. Instead, your identity becomes anchored in who God says you are: beloved, purposed, and equipped for something greater. This process transforms not just your actions, but your entire way of seeing yourself and the world around you. You begin to release the need for external validation because you realize that you are enough in the eyes of the one who created you. In shedding the old self, God also teaches you to embrace humility. The process of letting go requires you to acknowledge areas of weakness, parts of yourself that need change. In this humility, you discover a strength that doesn't come from self-sufficiency, but from reliance on God's grace. You learn that true power isn't about control or perfection, but about surrender. As you yield to this transformation, you find a quiet resilience, a confidence that is not rooted in pride, but in purpose. This elimination of the old self also involves a purification of motives. The desires and ambitions that may have once driven you are brought into the light, tested, and refined. God removes the parts of you that pursued recognition, validation, or power for their own sake. Instead, He instills in you a heart that seeks to serve, to make an impact, to live for something beyond yourself. In this transformation, you find a new purpose, a purpose that is not self-centered, but God-centered, aimed at fulfilling a calling that is larger than your own aspirations. As this process unfolds, you begin to notice a lightness, a new freedom that comes from no longer carrying the burdens of the past. The old self, with its doubts, insecurities, and limitations, is left behind. You are no longer defined by what you were, but by who you are becoming. This transformation is a rebirth, a shedding of what no longer serves you so that you can embrace the fullness of your potential, the identity and purpose God has designed specifically for you. When you emerge from this season, you do so as a new creation. The old self has been left behind, and in its place is someone who is ready to step into the calling with clarity, confidence, and humility. You carry with you the lessons learned, the wisdom gained, and the strength found in the letting go. This transformation marks the beginning of a new chapter, one defined not by the remnants of who you once were, but by the boundless possibilities of who God has made you to be. In isolation, God cultivates within you the essence of true humility, a humility that's grounded not in weakness but in strength. Removed from the affirmations and achievements of the world, you begin to confront your own humanity and limitations. You come face to face with the reality that on your own you are not self-sufficient. This recognition isn't meant to diminish you, but to liberate you from the pressure of self-reliance. Humility begins when you understand that all you have, gifts, talents, and even breath itself is a gift, a trust placed in your hands by God. In this quiet season, you're stripped of the things that may have once fueled pride or self-importance. There are no accolades to chase, no crowds to impress. The only eyes upon you are God's, and in his presence you are reminded that his opinion is the only one that truly matters. Humility begins to take root when you realize that your value isn't tied to titles, positions, or possessions, but to the inherent worth given by the one who created you. This understanding frees you from the endless pursuit of validation, anchoring your self-worth in something eternal. Isolation reveals to you that humility is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less. True humility means understanding that your life is not solely about you. It's about serving, impacting, and uplifting others. In this season, God begins to shape your heart, shifting your perspective from self-centered to God-centered, from seeking recognition to seeking purpose. You learn that greatness is not found in elevating yourself, but in using what you have to elevate others. This is a humility that comes from understanding that your purpose is interconnected with those around you, that your blessings are meant to be shared. In this quiet space, God teaches you to release control, to surrender your plans, dreams, and ambitions to him. Humility grows when you recognize that you do not have all the answers, nor do you need to. In fact, true humility is acknowledging that his plans are higher than yours, his wisdom greater, and his timing perfect. It's letting go of the need to chart your own course and trusting instead in the divine guidance that leads you step by step. You come to see that strength is not in doing everything alone, but in admitting your need for guidance, your need for something greater than yourself. This process also refines your motives. The desires for power, recognition, or success begin to fade, replaced by a deeper desire to serve, to contribute, to make a difference. Humility teaches you that leadership is not about authority, it's about responsibility. You come to understand that any position or platform is not for self-glorification, but for serving others, for uplifting and inspiring those around you. In humility, you learn to steward influence wisely, knowing that true greatness is measured not by how high you rise, but by how well you lift others along the way. Through this transformation, you find a profound peace. Humility releases you from the need to constantly prove yourself. No longer are you driven by comparisons, competition, or the need to outdo others. Instead, you are content, secure in your identity and purpose. Humility anchors you, freeing you from the shifting tides of opinions and expectations. You understand that humility is not passivity, it's a quiet confidence, a strength rooted in purpose, a resilience that doesn't waver because it is grounded in the eternal. When you emerge from this season of humility, you carry with you a new strength, a strength that is no longer focused on self-promotion, but on selfless contribution. You are no longer led by pride, but by purpose, no longer driven by personal ambition, but by a commitment to make a meaningful impact. This humility becomes your foundation, allowing you to move forward with clarity, peace, and an unshakable sense of direction, ready to serve, lead, and love from a place of true strength. Isolation becomes a forge where God strengthens personal integrity, a quality that is crucial for enduring and leading with character. In the solitude of this season, you come face to face with your own values, choices, and commitments. With no one to impress or perform for, you begin to see what truly resides within your heart. It's here that integrity is developed not as a fleeting decision, but as a deep-rooted commitment to live with honesty and authenticity, no matter who is or isn't watching. In isolation, God removes the external pressures, the social influences, and even the subtle expectations that can sometimes sway you away from your true principles. This solitude brings clarity, showing you where you may have compromised or conformed for the sake of convenience or approval. God uses this time to realign your heart, to purify your motives, and to strengthen your resolve to stand firmly in what is right, even when it is challenging or unpopular. In this place of quiet refinement, you learn that integrity isn't just about doing the right thing publicly, but about choosing truth in the private, unseen places of your life. This season teaches you the power of consistency. Integrity is not built in a single moment. It's the result of a series of choices made over time. Every time you choose honesty over deceit, courage over fear, principle over preference, your integrity grows stronger. In isolation, God provides opportunities to develop this consistency, teaching you to be faithful in the small things. You start to understand that integrity doesn't require a stage. It's a commitment to excellence, even in the ordinary and overlooked tasks. This faithful obedience, even when no one else is around to witness it, is where true character is forged. Strengthening integrity also requires self-examination. In the silence, God gives you the chance to look inward, to examine areas of weakness and address them with honesty. Isolation reveals where you may have compromised, where there may be inconsistencies between what you say and how you live. This season becomes a mirror reflecting back areas in need of growth, and God is there to help you confront and correct them with grace. As you commit to this honest self-assessment, you begin to develop a clearer understanding of who you are and who you want to be. You grow into a person whose actions align with your values, whose words reflect your heart. In this process, humility becomes a close companion to integrity. You realize that true integrity is not about projecting a perfect image, but about embracing honesty, even in your imperfections. This humility allows you to acknowledge mistakes, take responsibility, and seek growth. Rather than defending flaws or hiding faults, you become transparent, open to correction, and committed to improvement. Integrity, then, is not about maintaining a facade of righteousness. It's about living with a commitment to truth, even when it requires vulnerability. Isolation also strengthens your resilience to stay true to your values, regardless of external pressures. In the quiet, you come to understand that integrity is a choice you must make daily, especially when no one else is around to hold you accountable. This personal accountability builds a resilience that will serve you in every season. When you are later faced with temptations or pressures, you'll have already developed the strength to stand firm. Your commitment to integrity becomes unshakable, a solid foundation that grounds you in truth and protects you from compromise. As this season of solitude comes to a close, you emerge with an integrity that is resilient, tested, and unbreakable. You no longer rely on external validation or fear the judgment of others, because you have a deep inner peace, knowing that you are living authentically. This integrity becomes your compass, guiding you with wisdom, helping you make choices that are aligned with your purpose, and empowering you to lead with unwavering character. It is this integrity that forms the backbone of your influence, allowing you to impact others with authenticity, strength, and humility. You walk forward not just as someone who does the right thing, but as someone who embodies truth every step of the way. In the stillness of isolation, you embark on a profound journey of learning to trust God's timing. This season, often marked by waiting and uncertainty, becomes an essential part of your spiritual growth. Removed from the distractions and demands of everyday life, you find yourself faced with the truth that divine timing is not just a matter of patience, it's about aligning your heart with a deeper understanding of God's purpose for your life. Here you come to realize that waiting is not wasted time, rather it is a sacred space where God prepares you for the future He has designed. Trusting God's timing requires a shift in perspective. Society often pushes a narrative of immediate gratification where success is measured by how quickly you achieve your goals. In isolation, however, you begin to understand that God operates on a different timeline, one that is rooted in wisdom, love, and purpose. His timing is perfect, intricately woven into the fabric of your life experiences. You learn that each moment of waiting has a purpose, shaping you, refining your character, and equipping you for what is to come. The pause becomes an invitation to lean in closer to God, to deepen your relationship with Him, and to seek understanding amidst the uncertainty. As you learn to trust in this timing, you confront your own fears and anxieties about the future. It's easy to become impatient when you feel like you're not where you want to be, but isolation offers you the opportunity to surrender those fears to God. You begin to recognize that your anxiety often stems from a desire for control, a desire to orchestrate your own path rather than allowing God to lead. In this season, God invites you to let go of that control, to trust that He knows what is best for you and that He is working behind the scenes, even when you can't see it. You find peace in the knowledge that He is in control, orchestrating every detail of your life according to His perfect plan. In the waiting, you also discover the power of preparation. Isolation becomes a time of active waiting, an opportunity to develop skills, deepen your understanding, and cultivate the qualities necessary for the future you desire. You realize that this time is not simply about being idle, it's about equipping yourself for what lies ahead. As you invest in personal growth, learning, and prayer, you become better prepared for the opportunities God will eventually bring your way. You learn to see waiting not as a period of inactivity, but as a critical part of your preparation for a greater purpose. This season of trust also teaches you the value of resilience. Waiting often tests your resolve, pushing you to confront doubts and discouragement. But through this process, you develop a tenacity that allows you to stand firm in your faith, even when the path forward seems unclear. You discover that trusting God's timing is not a passive act. It requires courage and determination. It means choosing to believe in God's goodness and faithfulness, even when circumstances don't align with your desires. This resilience builds a deep-rooted confidence in God's plan, allowing you to weather the storms of life with grace and hope. Moreover, as you lean into God's timing, you begin to cultivate a spirit of gratitude. In isolation, you have the chance to reflect on the blessings already present in your life. You learn to appreciate the small things, the everyday moments that often go unnoticed. Gratitude shifts your focus from what you lack to what you already have, fostering contentment and joy in the present. This practice of gratitude not only helps you endure the waiting, but also deepens your relationship with God, reminding you of His faithfulness in the past and His promises for the future. As this transformative journey unfolds, you emerge with a renewed sense of trust in God's timing. You realize that waiting is not a punishment, but a preparation for something greater. You are equipped with a deeper understanding of your own heart and a strengthened faith that God is always working on your behalf. You walk forward with confidence, knowing that every delay, every moment of uncertainty has purpose and meaning. You are now ready to embrace the future with open arms, secure in the knowledge that God's timing is perfect and that you can trust Him completely. The lessons learned in isolation become the foundation for a life characterized by patience, perseverance, and unwavering faith in the unfolding of His divine plan. So if you find yourself alone, take heart, God is not finished with you. Isolation is not rejection, but preparation. Trust the process, trust His timing, and know that every moment in solitude is part of His plan to elevate you. When God's blessing arrives, you'll be ready, stronger, and equipped to carry the blessing He has prepared just for you.